Welcome to the week 6 recording for green technology. You can see that week 6 goes from May 6th through 12th. Go ahead and click into that. And for week 6, we're getting into section 3, which is all about green energy. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about green energy, alternative fuels, and things like that. Well, that's what you'll learn in this unit. And first, of course, you're going to do the lesson 6 recording. You're watching that now. And the week 6 Class Connect write-up. Well, as we look at the green energy unit, it's 2 lessons. The first one about alternative energy sources, and the second lesson about clean energy and conserving energy. Then, of course, you have the study questions like you have in each section, the quiz study guide. Make sure you look at the quiz preview too. Then you take the quiz, and then finally you have the assignment. So just like it always is, as far as the work to be done. Before we jump into week 6, just want to remind you that we have week 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we only have 4 weeks left in the class remaining. If you're way behind, I suggest you look at the passing plan. You can click here, look at the passing plan, and that'll show you how you can get 595 points. That would be passing with a D. I'd like you to get a higher score, but some of you just want to pass, so please take advantage of that passing plan. Alright, let's jump on down. Here we are in section 3. First thing we want to do is look at the write-up, don't we? So make sure we answer the questions. My internet connection is a little bit slow today, so I'm going to hold out hope that it will catch up. So here we go. So in lesson 1, lists these 3 reasons fossil fuels are not the best alternative for energy. Explain what a steam turbine is, how it produces electricity. Explain how hydroelectricity energy is produced. And explain the impact of hydroelectric production on some types of fish. And we'll keep those things in mind. When we get into section 3, of course this is going to be the lesson presentation, as I call it. And this is going really slow today. I hope this is going to work out. So in this section, in section 3, this unit, alternative energy sources, clean fossil energy, and think about energy conservation. Well, this is really slow. I hope it works out for you guys okay. In the first lesson, alternative energy sources, we'll look at common energy sources, things that can be used instead of burning fossil fuel. Of course, fossil fuel, is burning oil, coal, those types of things. So that's the issue that we want to get to, is what alternatives do we have? Or if we have to stick with those older fuels, how can we make it better? So of course, energy is for power. So energy makes vehicles go, makes lights come on in your house, computers and appliances work, and things like that. So fossil fuels are burned to make vehicles go. They're also burned in power plants to generate electricity for our homes and for our businesses. And fossil fuels, some of the things it does, it releases greenhouse gases into the air that can contribute to global climate change. They're non-renewable, which means that they're going to be gone eventually. We'll run out of oil, we'll run out of coal. And because they're non-renewable, and because burning pollutes the environment, they're not sustainable. And when they're not sustainable, that means that they don't get replaced. So we want sustainable energy, things that can be replaced, things that are renewable. The other thing about burning oil, burning gasoline that comes from oil, is that we don't have all the oil we need. We have to import oil from other countries, so that means they sort of control us a little bit. We don't want that. Okay, alternative energy sources. Solar energy. So you can see that there are going to be a bunch of different alternative energies here. You can read down through these about it, the use of it, the environmental impact. Of course, solar comes from the sun. And there are a couple of ways that it's done. Photovoltaic systems use cells that absorb the energy, then they convert the chemical energy to electricity. So those are your solar panels. So that's the way those things work. Then the other way is that solar thermal systems, meaning they collect the sun's heat, then the heat turns water into steam, and then the steam turns the turbine. So a steam turbine is a machine that converts steam into energy. In a steam turbine, the steam moves different parts of the turbine. Let's see if I can find a sample of a steam turbine. Picture of one, I'm sure I can. Do a quick Google image search here. Steam turbine. Just to give you a picture of what one looks like. Now these are kind of confusing, aren't they? Actually, this right here probably gives you the best picture, so if I click on that, you see what happens is the steam comes in, and then it turns these blades. These blades turn the coiled cylinder that has a copper and magnet, and that makes electricity. So there's the steam turbine generator. Now this has a sitting horizontal. Most of them sit vertical because steam would rise, obviously. So here you can see how it goes. Steam comes in, turns these blades, spin really quickly, and then this coiled cylinder with a magnet turns, and that makes the electricity. And that's how all energy is produced. Well, all turbine-based energy is produced. So that gives you an idea of that. So that's how a steam turbine works. So it's all about using steam to move the parts. Steam turbines produce most electricity in the world, and most of those are done by burning fossil fuels. So we can go down through the about, so you can learn about the source. Then you can look at the use of the source. This is really bad how slow my internet connection is. So now we can look at the use of it. Solar energy is used all around the world, but it's not heavily dependent upon. Most cities that use solar still rely on electricity, burning rely on electricity to get or fossil fuels to get their energy. Some houses and businesses have solar panels. You might have solar panels at your house. Of course, the bad thing about solar is that at night or on cloudy days there may not be enough to produce electricity. So that's why with solar, you have to have a way to store it. Huge batteries are the way that's stored. The other thing about solar is that it can't be done economically everywhere. It's usually in the south or the west where you have lots of sun, right? The impact, it requires lots of land to generate the electricity, so you put the panels up, acres and acres and acres, and as they produce the photovoltaic cells, or they produce these panels, then of course you have to use some energy and some hazardous materials to produce those panels. So that's a little bit about solar. And one thing about that with solar is our government gives homeowners and business owners, they can give you some tax credits on your tax bill if you use solar. So that's why lots of people are doing it. So do this practice, see what you learned about solar, and take a look around. Look at your neighbors' houses, see if your own house might have solar, just to see how much solar is being used. In some areas, you'll see solar panels on top of lots of houses. And now we're talking about wind energy. So wind energy, obviously the energy that comes from wind, but you can see that this uses wind turbines. So it's the same thing as the steam, but in this case the blades act as the turbine blades in the steam picture that we saw earlier. Remember, right here in that steam picture, those turbine blades right there? So the steam makes those turn. Well, pretend the steam in a wind turbine, the steam would be like the wind. So the wind turns the blades, that turns the coil, that makes the energy. So everything works the same way. Creating this type of electricity with the turbine means something has to turn in order to make the magnets and the coil wire work together to produce electricity. It's all the same model. It's just done a little bit differently. But getting back to solar energy, people are even working on a solar paint. You take this paint and you can paint your roof, and it could collect solar heat that can be used, solar energy that can be used. There are many different ways people are doing it. Now you've probably seen in Colorado has quite a few of these wind farms where they have all these turbines like this. And the thing about wind farms, you can put one in your yard if it's windy enough, and you can generate your own electricity. But wind farms have some issues. They use up lots of land that can be used for other things. That's one of the main issues. Of course, the other issue with wind farms is you have these giant blades spinning, and what do we have that go through the air? What occurs naturally? Birds do, right? So now you have birds trying to avoid these turbines. So you can see a little picture there. So there are some issues with turbines that can harm birds and bats, as it says down here. Plus, it can use land that we might want to farm on. So practice, answer the question, see how much you've learned about that. So again, this is going through alternatives, just to give you an idea of different alternatives and what their uses are, and the benefits and the drawbacks to that particular source of energy. Now hydro, of course, hydro is energy that comes from the movement of water. And usually that's done with a dam. So they dam a river, and then inside the dam, inside the cement structure of the dam, they can have the turbines. Usually the turbines are over here in the turbine house. You can see it on the right hand side of the screen. So this water just flows here, just so that dam won't overfill, but the real water producing electricity goes to that turbine house. So hydroelectric power, hydroelectric energy is anything that comes from the movement of water. Of course, hydro means water, right? So the water flows through the dam and passes through the hydraulic turbine. And that's the same thing. The water comes into that little turbine house that you saw in that picture, and there are blades in there. The water makes the blades turn, and then of course the blades make the coils and the magnets turn. So hydro energy is used where there's lots of precipitation. Hydro also needs altitude changes, so the water flows downhill. You need the water to be moving fast. Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon have lots of hydro energy. Of course, some of the issues with hydro energy is you have to build dams, so you have to dam rivers in order to build hydroelectric. And of course, that affects the natural environment, doesn't it? So everything we do, as you've seen, affects the natural environment. Things that man builds can be negative. So as we look here, so we have dams can hurt the environment and the immediate surroundings, but dams can also be beneficial. Dams can create a lake for recreation use. So many of you go to dams in the summertime, go to the lake, and they have dams. One of the greatest impacts on dams, especially in the Northwest, like Washington and Oregon, where they have salmon that swim up the river, is that we know that salmon swim upstream to reproduce, right? One time they reproduce in their life and then they die. But these turbines in the dams, the salmon can't get past the turbines. The other thing is that often the water can create thermal pollution. Thermal pollution, the water can be different temperatures coming out of the dam, so that can be bad. But really the biggest thing is on the fish that are trying to get back upstream. There are many places, and you can see, so I'm going to just do a quick search here on, it's called Fish Ladder. Actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the next slide there, but then come back here, And I'm going to do fish ladder. And what they have in some places where they have dams is they have these fish ladders, they call them, which are little ponds, man-made ponds at different elevations, and fish can swim up through those ponds. It's be just like going up a ladder, going up steps like people would do to go up a building. So you can see this fish ladder right here. So there's a dam over on the side. See like this? Look at that huge dam over there. Looks like it might be in China. But then there's this ladder that fish can swim up. See, here's a picture of a salmon right here going up this ladder. There's people watching fish going up a ladder. So they do make these things to help the fish go upstream, these fish ladders. So kind of interesting, isn't it? Making that happen. You also have lots of places that have viewing windows. You can see the fish actually going upstream up these fish ladders. So man has tried to help the fish out. I've never seen one like this that has to go around. That's because the dam is so high. You can see how the fish can go from the water down here, and they go up that ladder and right in. Of course, the biggest issue is how does the fish find the ladder? Moving on, so that's about hydro. Given that this is so slow, I may just turn you loose to do this on your own, the rest of this on your own with your higher speed connection. We'll do one more section, but my connection is so terrible that I really can't do a very good recording. A geothermal, so talking geothermal of course is energy from the earth, geo meaning earth and thermal meaning heat, so we use the heat of the earth. And the way this works is that you can see this geothermal power plant. So underneath the ground, the Earth's magma, of course, is very hot, and as water touches it, water under the ground touches it, that water turns to steam. Well, in geothermal power plants, it captures the steam in this tube, in this pipe, and that pipe goes through the building, and in the building, what do you think we have? Well, we have turbines, just like other steam-driven power plants. So the turbines turn in here, they produce electricity. Coming out of the stacks over here is the excess steam. So same model is that steam turns turbines that then create electricity. In some areas where they have geothermal heat, the water they put back down. So some places would catch this steam, turn it back into water, and they put it back into the ground. Nice thing about this, which is interesting, in Nevada, there's a place where they have a geothermal power plant, and the steam that comes out, the extra steam, they use it to process onions and garlic. So they make double use of it. Some issues is that it's really expensive for geothermal because it's really very, very deep. You have to drill way down to get the energy to come up, get the steam to come up. I'll just do one more slide on this one, and that's all. We'll go back to the Class Connect write-up, and I'll talk about the other questions, and you're going to have to do those on your own, find those answers on your own, because this is just way too slow for recording. Finally, with geothermal, they have few negative impacts on the environment. Of course, they need to have space, so where the underground hot water is, there's very few places that have the hot underground water that is easily accessible. So that's kind of an issue. They also do take up a lot of land. Just some things to think about. So I'm going to go back to the Class Connect write-up since my computer is so slow, and if I get a chance to make another recording, I will on a faster internet connection, but this is being a pain today. So list 3 reasons fossil fuels are not the best alternative. We explained those. Explained what steam turbine is and how it produces. Talked about that. Hydroelectric, how's it produced? And back to hydroelectric on some fish. So we talked about those. In lesson 2, as you go through that, you're going to look at some coal. Explain the 2 ways researchers are trying to improve the burning of coal. Explain what a smart grid is. So find those 2 answers as you go through lesson 2. And finally, questions 7 and 10, that's the career connection. And in all of these presentations, there's a career connection at the end, all these section presentations. So I'm going to leave it up to you to find all those answers yourself. I'm sure you can do it. You just need to go through the presentation with the computer internet connection much faster than the one that I am using today. Then, of course, you're going to go in and do the study questions. You know how to do those. You've done those before. You're going to do the quiz. And finally, you're going to do assignment. And what I'd recommend is, you could have the Class Connect write-up questions on a word processor document. You answer those as you go along. You can also do the same thing with the study questions. You can answer those as you go along. And finally, this is the assignment 3 that you'll do. And assignment 3, you're welcome to just turn these in as text in the Dropbox rather than turning in a specific file. That's on both the study questions and the assignments. Just do text in the Dropbox. You know how to do that. You don't have to do what they say up here in the directions. Just do it as text in the Dropbox. Makes it easier for me. Okay, well that's all the work for week 6. I'm sorry my recording wasn't working so great, but I'll just leave it up to you to find those answers on the Class Connect write-up. I'm sure you can. So you get week 6 knocked out, then you'll be on your way. And remember, we have 1,000 points in this class, so you need 600 points to pass. So please get busy. Wouldn't it be great if by the end of next week you had at least 600 points? So that means you're guaranteed to pass. Make that as a target by the middle of May to have 600. Okay, everybody, thanks a lot. I look forward to your work coming in. Bye.